Call it in.
Okay, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:30 PM. Christine, will you take roll call, please?
Sarah Thompson,
Here.
Kat Stone.
Here.
Mike Baker,
Yo.
Lonnie Rainbow,
Here.
Tom Trotter, Janice Baker, and Jim DeLapp are currently absent.
Let's see, Jan says she logged into Teams. It was on the email and doesn't see anything.
It's not through Teams.
Yeah, we don't do
It's on,
Teams.
it's on Zoom, yeah.
That's
So
fine,
it's spelled-
I just opened it. so I
It's
still have to
spelled
do it
just
again.
a little differently.
There should- Or that's somebody.
That's somebody else.
Hello?
Oh,
hi, Tom.
I dialed in.
We see. That works.
Now we know your phone number.
And there's Jim.
Oh, yeah.
And so does.
That one's already
everybody.
public.
So we have a quorum.
We did.
Yeah,
Oh, we did already.
Oh, okay. Kat, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely not.
Will you anyway, please?
No, I'll pass that to Mike.
I pledge
Perfect.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will move on to item 4, consent agenda. The April regular meeting minutes and the preventative maintenance report. Has everybody had a chance to review?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept them.
We'll second that.
Well, you didn't change anything since last week.
I have a motion by Kat. I didn't hear who the second was.
This
There's
Jim, I second
Jim,
that.
second. Is there any discussion?
That's just me.
Anybody opposed?
Making sure it works.
Motion passes. We'll move on to item 5.1, April financial report. Sherry?
Okay, right now we should be at using about 84% of our budget, which we're still doing really well. Let's see, payroll overall is at 68% and material and services is at 73.96%. There's some variances. If anybody has any questions on any of them, I'll probably have an answer for you. If there's anything that sticks out that you really want to know about, but we've kind of gone over most of them.
I think I had a note.
Did you have a note, Jim?
Maybe.
I think
I was
it's
curious
so
about something.
when you just bare your soul, Sherry.
Okay.
It saves my eyes and my brain and everything.
We've talked about advertising, we didn't really budget a whole lot last year, so we are over there. The audit fees, we finally got one of our audits, finished. We're still waiting for FY fiscal year 21 to 22. So I will be emailing the auditors again this week. I know they were trying to get through the tax season.
Oh, yeah.
So they should be done with that now, yeah. So I'll check in with them this week and see where they're at with the latest one, but.
Is this just the part that goes with the budget thing we got today?
No,
Okay, all right. I just
this is
wanted,
the current budget, the current financial statement.
okay.
So, yeah, did you say you had
I
a
do,
question,
you know,
Jim?
I
Okay.
noticed that phones and tablets continue to be high. Is there a particular reason, have we had old ones and we're just replacing them or something like that? Or
So we
is
have
this-
replaced some, we had some that were still on the bill, we've gone through and kind of audited the bill and shut off and got rid of any ones that we no longer have.
Right.
That are not working.
Oh, wow.
So, but we just did have to buy a few new tablets because some of them are starting to have little hiccups here and there, so.
Right.
But hopefully this year's budget will be better. It's just last year when we created the budget, we were still,
Everything was still
higher-
pumped together.
yeah, everything
and
was
so
still
this is
pumped
what's-
together.
A lot of this.
it's one of the reasons, yep. And
Okay.
then the other reason was that, we've hired more demand response drivers So we're
Oh,
pretty,
so you have,
We changed the whole demand response
Yep.
system quite a bit.
yeah, yeah,
that was one, and the
Yeah.
other was probably the IT, and I think, if I remember correctly, it's because we're contracting it out, and so we don't have a person.
well, that's part of it, and it also includes, 10K and an annual renewal for the RFP, software. So it's gonna look a little wonky. We may have some things in there this year that weren't in there last year that we maybe didn't budget for. But the IT is also another one of those things that's gonna have to, we've done some changing and we've
Right,
reassigned some of the expenses to other departments, so hopefully the new budget will look a little better.
right.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, but once we get to because the 10K came out right at the beginning of the year. So it's
So
gonna
it's
take us all
everything.
year, it's gonna take us all year to kind of get caught up. 'Cause-
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering also, this is obviously, we are being transparent because of since that, with the bank.
Mhm.
I assume that the deposits and credits going out are because they're for each category. Is that something? I mean, because administration, operations, everything is different, and so they have to go in different accounts, be accounted differently.
Well, they all come out of the same bank account though.
Right,
Yeah.
but
Right.
where they're accounted for, I guess,
Yes.
as they go into different categories, so you have to say so.
Yes,
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
that's how we came up with the. How many pages are we? 4-page financial statement now. The buckets keep growing.
And another thing was just maintenance on vehicles, and I'm assuming that is because the buses, we're still having to keep them going because new ones haven't gotten here yet.
Correct.
That's what I thought. I'm just making sure that
Yep.
I understand. That's it.
Yep, and with the.
One of these days, that expense will go way down,
Yeah,
but
With
Well,
the,
yes,
with the
yes.
inflation costs too, like
Yeah.
they've been pretty.
as they get older, it
High
takes
this
more and
year.
more
Yeah.
maintenance to
Yep.
get going, so.
Is part of their growing pains.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately, so hopefully we'll get those new buses pretty soon.
Oh, yeah, I had a question.
Sure.
Yeah, for operations payroll, does that include bus drivers as well as like bus supervisors?
The operations payroll includes all of the bus drivers, the operations manager, and I'm sorry. Just the bus drivers at this point, because we don't really have anybody else in operations. The operations manager and the supervisor and the program assistants fall under ops admin.
Okay,
So the operations
All right.
right there is only the bus drivers. For the transit.
Yeah.
And then.
we're way under
para-
budget there because we don't have the buses to hire the drivers, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't been able to do any of some of the
The
expansions.
expansion, yeah.
Mhm.
And they're all gonna need new phones. And tablets.
Yeah. It's a never ending.
Yes, it is.
So do we need a motion to accept the financial report?
Yes, please.
I'd like to make that motion.
Second,
I have a motion by Kat, second by Mike to accept the April financial report. Any further discussion? Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes. On to item 6, fiscal year 24 budget hearing.
Open it, Sarah.
Hang on, I'm getting to that page. I'm on 2 different devices so that I can see and so that I can participate. Hold on.
All ready to do that one.
let's see, is this the correct page? Okay. Let's not make sure. We got the PDF this afternoon.
Does it have a time, does it have a
Yeah.
time noted on it? That's what I need.
Okay.
Okay, we will, so do I have to close the regular meeting then, Christine?
No,
No,
Okay.
no, you just have to open the budget hearing.
Okay, the time is 5:41. I will open the fiscal year 24 budget hearing. At this time, we will receive citizen testimony, if there is any, on the budget approved by the Budget Committee
Matt,
on April.
I know this is what you came for.
We have a real public here.
Uh,
On the budget.
I actually have more questions than any kind of approvals or declines. I'm more interested in how the budget is working towards actual services. So from my standpoint, and I've heard quite a bit from drivers and ridership. We know that the ridership is down significantly so. That makes it difficult to operate because you still need revenue. But people know that costs are higher. Access has gotten worse, not better. Especially when it comes to dial-a-ride. And dial-a-ride used to be a pretty effective, low cost or no cost service. And we have people at this point in time that can't make it to their doctor's appointments because their rides get screwed up on the regular, primarily through MTM. And I've even lodged a complaint with Umpqua Health Alliance because I contacted this office and I was directed that Umpqua Health Alliance has that contract. And I lodged a complaint with them to get their stuff together and get things more efficient and get things organized. Otherwise, you're gonna have a lot more to contend with. And right now, I mean, we've already had meetings with CMS, which is Social Security's long arm of the law, and other service providers throughout the state, concerned about transportation in general, which falls on ODOT. Currently, the curb cut program that they've been trying to work on and correct has gone severely way behind. And areas are not getting served. People are not mobile. And I know people are concerned about ped and bicycle and ulterior motives of transportation to get where they need to go. And when it comes to people with disabilities, this is a large area that's being overlooked. I can only assume it's being overlooked or actively ignored because maybe it's too much of a hassle. And maybe if that's the case, maybe other people need to come in and provide some direction. So that's my 2 cents worth. How it relates to the budget, I would love to hear.
Amazing, Matt. Thank you for coming and thank you for bringing that up.
Well, I'm not public, but I do have
So
one.
just to respond, do you have any? I don't know.
Oh, do you want me to?
Oh, I don't know if you have anything you wanna, you don't have to.
Well,
There's a lot of things brought up.
Yeah, because I know a lot of the answers about how we didn't get buses and we can't expand services and routes and do the things that we're federally mandated to do. And that's a lot because of the pandemic. I'm tired of laying everything on the feet of the pandemics. I think the corporations are taking huge profits and they're not putting back anything into the community. And I think that's where we're falling short. I mean, Mercy are they the same as Umpqua Health Alliance? Because they pulled out and cut off services and contracts with us.
so there's just a whole lot there that is out of our control. But I do know that the MTM brokerage, their contract is ending as of June 30th. And Umpqua Health Alliance has opted to contract again with Bay Cities. And I have to remain neutral in my statements about that. I can tell you, if you're speaking to ridership for UPTD, ridership has increased for this last year. It has increased 16% over what it was last April. And I'm just looking at the month of April because that's what I have.
And keep in mind, my focus is on people with disabilities, the
That
infirmed, elderly.
exactly. And that's
STF.
right. There is no longer an STF. They combined that with the STIF program, so they call it population-based STIF now. But it does serve the same purpose. And the rides for April for the seniors and people with disabilities, because they're the only ones that can get those type of rides, either paratransit or dial-a-ride, demand response, increased from 1,719 in April last year to 1,991 this year. So that's a 16% increase. We provided 272 more rides this year, but we're down 3 vans. We've had 3 vans that we had to send to salvage. So we're still awaiting the vans that were ordered almost 2 years ago. And when that happens, then we can hire more drivers, and then we can cover more service area. So at this point, it's not really a stale excuse to say we're doing the best we can, because we fill the vehicles every day, and we turn away very few rides. And the greater majority of the issues that we're hearing about people not being able to get to their services are directly related to the MTM brokerage and their call center, although it is many times interpreted as being our call center. And so we've worked through that with a number of different agencies.
Right. And I've seen people that come very early to appointments and they're sitting around. The rides come back running late. And so that has a disregard effect to the people that are riding. And what happens is you have people that if they can't make it to their doctor's appointments, then the doctors are calling them a no call, no show. And then after a couple of those, they tend to let those folks go. And then they have to go search for a new primary care physician.
Correct.
So the impact is there could be far more ridership if things were more effective, if it was cost effective, because a lot of people are on tight budgets, and with the inflation rates and their incomes don't meet up with the inflation rates, it's impossible to do anything on a paid ride. So you could have a lot more ridership if dial-a-ride was activated to a more full extent. I understand about the vans being down and you had to salvage those, but I'm here to basically say there needs to be some accountability at some place. Is it with ODOT, who's been sitting on vans for 2 years? Possibly.
Oh, it's the factory. It's the factory.
That was not our-
So, and we've even started to look for our own van to help people out just off the cuff because it's needed.
I just don't know if we need a public volunteer system to support, because we can't. We simply don't have the resources, and we evidently don't have outlying ability with the other providers. I mean, it must be rough when Mercy has to pull their contract. That's just ridiculous. So I think we need to work on a volunteer situation. I don't know how it would work, or if the insurance would be impossible, but the medical rides, the non-emergent medical rides, we should be able to expand that to include these people that we're missing.
So I think our budget, so back to the budget. That thing. I think our budget does cover additional vans, the grants that are additional other vehicles. I think there's money set aside from the brokerage to reach out to those that fall in between.
Yes.
So that we have a way to now serve them a little bit, that don't quite make the dial ride, but don't quite make the paratransit. Either, so,
We've seen difficulties, and it could be through MTN's interactions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but we've seen also issues with hypertransit, deluxe, sunshine. And some are better than others.
did you have a suggestion for a change in the budget or something? Is that? what
I
you're-
would really like it if there is X amount of dollars put aside for dial-a-ride to maybe increase that amount. You know, if anything to,
Well, there are increased dollars in there for that,
okay,
for things, but yeah. But part of we need vans. When we get vans, we can get drivers.
We've also missed you, Matt.
So.
Why in the heck haven't you been here the last year?
I've been working on myself,
Good job.
so. Yeah, that in mind, I understand the issues around bans, but I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. If ODOT can't somehow put a push on the manufacturers to get some stuff done, then they need to be more flexible about who they have as their contractors to get these vans done.
Well, it's only so many providers and it's a nationwide issue. It's not a state of Oregon
I'm
issue.
saying go to Enterprise or Rent-A-Car.
Well, I felt that
That's
way.
very cost effective.
I felt that way with the federal requirements that had no idea what it took to run public transit in a small rural area like this. And I hated that. I hated that.
I think there's ADA requirements for vehicles, as you know, so, yeah.
Okay,
So I do have one comment on the budget. On the, it's the capital, let me find the coverage.
the $500 million.
No, it's like 94,000.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure.
Jesus, there are too many
I think
pages.
in the meeting, when we had the budget committee meeting, we addressed that and we took it out.
Sorry here. Page, oh, it's not labeled. It's after page 19, so it must be page 20. There,
God, I hope so.
Page, it's page blank.
on
It says,
line
yeah.
11, there, it says 5310 bus shelters, $94,204. And that was, we did that because we received an email saying, oh, you're gonna get this funding. And then we received one after the budget committee meeting that said, we're so sorry, but that funding was actually already allocated and we don't have it to give to you. So we don't actually get that funding.
We don't.
No.
We made the adjustment and approved by the budget committee. We took it off. Okay.
Oh, okay, never mind.
You could take it off.
It's too bad, because we could use some additional. bus drivers.
Yeah, we'll apply.
I
for
hate
it.
seeing people out standing out in the rain.
We'll apply for a discretionary. So are there any other comments on that?
So you just need to close the public hearing and
That's the way Tim Freeman does it.
We will now close the public hearing on the budget, the fiscal year 24 budget. And I would entertain a motion to pass the recommended budget from the budget committee.
move to adopt the resolution number 23-1, adopted budget of $15,029,272.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Mike, a second by Jim. Is there any further discussion? Okay, anybody opposed? Motion passes. We will move on to item 7, public comment for on agenda items only. Hearing none.
Twice in a row.
No public.
You gotta fulfill your role.
I got my piece there.
Okay.
That's Matt. Nothing here, Sarah.
Okay, Moving on, we don't have any old business. Moving on to item 9.1 COLA discussion.
So this is a discussion that we had intended to have last month, and we did not get it on the agenda. The budget includes enough funding for a 5% if you wanted to go that high, or at the director's decision. We would go with whatever you recommend.
What was this Portland CPI? Wasn't it like 8 something?
Mhm.
Is that right? 8.5 roughly, or,
Yes.
yeah. I would support a 5%.
I would as well.
If there's any way to go higher towards that 8%, we were faced with the same situation.
Yeah,
And we couldn't do 8 as a nonprofit, we just couldn't, but we were able to push it and do 6. And that does make a difference, especially when it comes to staff retention.
yeah.
Is that an option for us?
Well, we budgeted 5.
But we don't have to stick with that, right? That's what a budget is for.
Well, we just adopted it, but,
Oh, but we always fiddle with it, if we're anything like the county commissioners.
Yes.
I would, yeah.
Go ahead.
I should stay out of this discussion, honestly, because I have
You're a
skin in the
beneficiary.
game.
Yeah.
I
What's the word?
So logistically, from a financial perspective,
Sherry,
Sherry.
got us.
We could increase the COLA and offset it by decreasing the merit a little bit if we want to do that. So if we want to give them
Overall,
an overall, like a 6% COLA, then we would just, I built in a percentage, which is, if you wanted to do 6, we would just lower the merit.
and not everybody gets a 5%
Right,
merit.
but you just budget for, in
Yeah.
case, yeah.
I
Have something
budget
to
for a
work.
5% merit and a 5% COLA, that's what I budgeted for. But if we wanna, if you guys wanna make a decision to do a 6%, then we would just not go any higher.
Okay,
I would
I'm okay
kinda
with the
like to-
6%.
yeah, do we have to make a motion?
Well, let's see what Lonnie and Janice and Tom,
Well, okay, take a vote.
this one would be,
So it wouldn't
what do you
change
got
the
this year? I'm
budget,
just curious if any of them have
Yeah.
any comments on it.
How would that affect, like the employees if you went higher on the COLA, but then you had less for merit?
What I would do
Would it
is.
make a reduced morale or make it difficult
What
for
I
people?
would
Or?
do is recommend that they scrutinize and really go for, if somebody deserves a 5% because they're an exceptional employee, we would not prevent that from happening. But there needs to be a little more scrutiny at if everybody is just meeting expectations, then there isn't an expectation of a 5% COLA. So we'll just have to pay closer attention.
So I'm pulling up the Western Oregon or the Western Region CPI. And it is trending down. January is 6.4, February is 6.0, and March is 5.1. So it is trending down year over year as we move through the months.
Yeah, I just think of
I
this
do
last
kind of,
year.
seems to me like we're probably in the next few years entering maybe possibly serious deflation.
Well, we have to deal with
What
where
I've been
we're
looking
at, where we're at right now. And right now
Yeah,
is pretty grim,
Oh.
and one of our mission and principles is to be a good employer. And we gotta do something to bring some sunshine into this county.
yeah. I'm fine with going with 6. I just want to make sure that, I want to do the best by the employees of the district for one thing. So
What's the difference between 5% and 6% in terms of total dollars? Do you know? I don't know if you know. Yeah.
It's in the budget, it's in the budget, and it just.
He's like, "Calvin, I was hoping you weren't gonna answer that."
There are limits to her holiness. Back up an agenda item real quick.
When are these to take effect?
I would say
July 1, yeah.
I mean, I totally get the going to 6%. I mean, from morale standpoint, I can support that. From a budgetary standpoint, because we just passed it at 5%, I almost feel we should stick with what we just approved as a budgetary number.
Well, it doesn't really affect the bucket, doesn't affect the bucket.
Yeah, the overall number, I think that's true, will stay the same because of. the-
Yes,
Right.
it'll be simply how
somebody
they divvy it
I
out.
think what Cheryl was getting at is if someone was exceptional, we could still give them their 5%. They
Right.
would have 11, but someone else is not maybe
Right.
gonna have a 2 or 3
Right,
or 4.
Right,
Okay.
and when you have 40 people and 3 departments, basically, the exceptional float to the top, you know, you can
Mhm.
pick them out quite easily. And then the next, you know, those really steady dependent, you know, you can depend on them to show up.
To
at the
show
end of
up
time
and-
and do their job, you know, but they don't really stand out.
So we
you know.
aren't saving
So-
any money by keeping it at 5 instead of raising it to 6. It's this, it's gonna cost the same. It's just how we apportion it.
We actually took a lesson from the Cow Creek tribe. So for incentivizing and merit, food works great.
Do we have food?
I don't know.
'Cause they
Do you
never
have a-
feed me
do you-
at these
Do you have a
meetings.
food budget?
we do some things, you
Yeah.
guys just did your, the
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys had cake and
cake
crumbles
and-
or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pizza and crumbles.
It's
I don't
a-
really ever eat the cake, so it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, you don't gain anything. Thank God.
I guess I'd go ahead and just make a motion to approve 6% COLA.
And
For
I'll
all, for
second
all,
that.
for all employees, effective July 1st.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mike, a second by Kat. Any further discussion?
I would just say that when I say all employees, that includes Cheryl and the managers, all the staff, everybody. I just wanna make- I just want to make sure that was clear.
As opposed to the invisible people.
Sometimes it's everybody but the general manager and that's.
Everybody
It's
likes so
everybody.
Anybody opposed to that motion? Okay, motion passes. On to item 10.1, project next door. Cheryl?
Okay, so, we, during our last meeting, the update that I'd given was that, that we had, engaged with IE Engineering for the site design. IE is waiting for the, wetlands delineation, which we received today, so I was able to forward that to them. The wetlands delineation, I think is gonna be favorable, but we can discuss that further in our executive session. And so that piece is complete, the wetlands delineation is. And then that is also for the rest of the meeting, or for the executive session. Sorry, that I forget that there's things that I need to separate. I can tell you though, that when it cleared up a little bit on those nice sunshiny days, I walked this property and it is very much buildable. The top above the fence, you see there's a road that goes up right on the other side of the
Mhm.
fence. And the top is flat and it's
Isn't there
almost,
like a city water pump station up there?
no, there's nothing.
Oh,
It's
that
it's empty. It's probably almost as big as a football field. And then there's the flat area down below, which is almost an acre. And then there is more that is beyond where the blackberries and the water is. So there could potentially be various different, you know, small sites and make it into a campus.
I'm really excited, Cheryl.
Yeah,
That's
so,
great.
I did look at some other properties as well, and then, I can give you some updates on that.
In the
in the
executive session.
Executive session, yes. So I feel very encouraged that even if we are not able to utilize the adjoining property, that there is property that is nearby that is, very, very much
accessible and
what
useful.
we're looking for as well. Yes. So that just keeps plugging along. So that, and that's really all the update I have is that we did get the reports. We got the title report and the wetlands report, and I met with the realtor, and now we go from here.
And that's okay with where we're going.
We're working on that. That's the next step.
Okay.
Oh, well, ODOT is okay with, I don't have to get
The
any,
process,
yes.
yeah.
I don't have to get any
the
changes to
stuff
the
to sign up on
grant.
NEPA and all that. right?
If we, as long as we use this, but if we choose a different property, then we have to start over and go through the whole process again.
Okay. That's just information, right? So we
Yes,
can move
just
along.
information. Yes, and the, oh, sorry, I wait.
Go ahead with the limits.
10.2, I checked with Andy with City of Sandy, and she is in a similar situation. I think it'll stay. She's in a similar situation where there are some challenges accessing what she needs to do for the charging station. And so we still don't have a contract with prices in it from Proterra to be able to sign. So right now we're looking at talking to Proterra and asking them, instead of delivery in January of 2024, to push that out at least 4 months. That gives us time to get property in place and get the chargers installed properly without a huge rush, to be able to do that process correctly, you know. It gives us some breathing room. But we don't want the delivery date to remain in January and have to have our vehicles stored, because Proterra would be glad to store them for us. But it would cost us a pretty penny for them to store them and keep them maintained, charged, drive them at least once a week. You know, those kinds of things. You know, as she's describing the service, it sounds like, wow, that's a wonderful service. I wonder how much that one costs.
Yeah.
So,
Just bring them out here and we'll drive them.
yeah, so we just thought it was optimal, seeing as we're both in the same place and we're both on the same contract. Well, not the same contract, but the same timeline. They put us through together, and because our bus builds were gonna be so similar, and there's some economy of scale that comes from building 6 in a row that are the exact same. So that's what we're looking at. When we have a contract, we're gonna ask for that delivery date to be at least March or April of next year. And
March or April of next year.
which
Only
means,
1 year?
but we'll probably get it in June. You know, that's just the way it goes.
I was gonna say March or April of the next year.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Well, so Proterra seems to be really good at sticking to their timelines. But you have to be in line, and at the beginning of every month, they go through all of their contracts that are signed, and they bump all the contracts that aren't signed out a little bit.
Trick with
So,
all those Buy America provisions.
yeah, yeah.
I just thought I heard 25 instead of 24. Yeah, I thought you said 25.
2024, no, 20.
Oh, okay.
No, and, no,
That's information only, or we have to?
information only. We're good.
Okay, no action.
We
Okay,
are-
move on to item 11, general manager's report.
Sure. So, if you take a look at ridership, the fixed route ridership is up. From 49,000 last year to 83,157 this year. So that's a pretty significant increase. We're still about 20,000 from where we were pre-pandemic, but we're making progress. Our fixed route ridership was 7,044 last month. And we did We had implemented the Sunshine Park runs, just 4 runs per day. And we've had 12 passengers, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a brand new service that nobody knew was, it's like gonna start now, right on. So we are making progress. It's just not as fast as we'd like to see it. But it is about the same as when we started our South County routes. The first month that we had South County routes, we only had minimal ridership.
Yeah, South County's doing pretty good now.
Yeah, it does really, really well. Let's see, the demand response numbers, we kind of touched on a little bit earlier. March was 1,991 for a 12-month rolling total of 22,480. And that's a good increase over last year as well. And that does not include our client-only contracts. So, and there's another 30,000 rides with our client-only contracts.
30,000
30,000.
a month?
Yeah.
2,000 a day?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we did it every day.
Oh, no, 30,000 for the quarter. I
Okay,
apologize.
my fault.
Um,
My fault.
No.
We have the goddess of numbers here.
It's for the quarter. They run about 15,000 for both Sunrise and VRTF for a quarter, because they can put all of their folks, you know, they put, when they come and do the cleaning, they do maybe 5, 6, 8 people in a van. And they come to one location, they all offload, they do their cleaning service, and that's one ride times 8, you know? And then they go to the next place and do their service. And so they might hit 5, 6, 7 spots in an evening. And they do that, you know, 7 days a week. So they have really, really good ridership numbers, and they are 100% rides for people with disabilities. Are there any questions about anything that I put on my report?
On this,
Mhm.
I have a question about the very last one.
Oh, so we were looking at the advertising. So the advertising that we've been doing is on News Review, you know, their inserts that they do, the fancy insert that people tend to hang on to a little bit longer. And clicks off their website, that kind of stuff. We are actually having people access our schedules by clicking the button on the News Review website. So that was interesting too, because they track the clicks. I mentioned that every single time I get in the car and turn on the radio, that I do not hear our ads. My drivers hear our ads and Sherry hears our ads, but I still have yet to hear one of our ads on the radio. And I had brought that up a couple of months ago. So I met with the digital media coordinator. And so what they do is they try to match you up with the appropriate package that is going to hit the target audience and our target, you know, what's going to say whether or not we're successful with our advertising is the increase in ridership. You know, are we reaching new people and letting them know that there's a service out there that is available to them? Are we reminding them often enough that when their car breaks down, they realize they have a way to get to work, you know, that kind of stuff. And so that's what they're looking at. They have a crew that's coming in to shoot a commercial for, I believe they said, wildlife safari, and that they would have some extra time on that day. And so we talked about, you know, how do you make it look fun to ride the bus, you know, have a mom and some kids and they're excited to get on the bus, you know, and that kind of stuff. So
Does the bus go to wildlife safari?
it does not, it goes, but
I'm
it
sorry,
does.
I
Let's go to
just.
the bottom of the hill, but no, it's just that they're gonna already have the photographers in town.
Uh-huh.
So the expense to us for shooting a commercial would be less.
All right, my question is, when did we or should we have put out an RFP for advertising and broadcasting and that stuff? Because I really object to Brooks Communications and Lotus Media as our primary and only source of advertising.
So
And I know that I forget things, but when I read that, I was like really angry.
well, so I wanted to put it in there to be transparent.
No, but
And they have all of the radio stations in our area.
Mhm.
They have, well, the Beacon is the only other newspaper in the area that I'm aware of. And then, I don't know.
yeah, they've got a pretty Ziploc tight
Mhm.
down. They've got us in a bag. And I don't know that it's absolutely necessary to use local when you have satellite, radio. You can get that advertising. And more people listen to that than the local radio. And I know that very few people read either the bulletin or the news review anymore.
Local radio works pretty good though.
Well, it
I will
would.
tell you
It
from-
I know a lot of people that read the paper.
Yeah, different ways of advertising and stuff, and I don't think it has to go RFP because the dollar value is low enough.
Is that it? Is it the dollar value?
And
Because,
we can change it at any time.
Yes.
That's the thing.
well, I'd really like us to look into something besides Chris Boyce's family.
I will, definitely.
Or Chris McCaw, depending on whether you're 18 or younger.
I will definitely look at other options. It is something that we did kind of on the spur of the moment.
Okay,
And as a result of a conversation that was had in the board meeting about us not having our name out there.
yeah.
And so,
Well,
I was expeditious and did it as quickly as humanly possible.
Well, it is, I think it is good to get some of that, just gets people thinking about it and
Yeah,
doing that and just also kind of work.
yeah. And
Policy.
I guess Kenny is one of the DJs that
who's
does
Kenny?
Kenny Sherman.
No. I think
Oh.
He used to drive
Oh, that Kenny. Is that
and
Kenny?
also does radio.
I remember
Yes,
Kenny.
and
He
he-
hasn't been here for a year either.
And he MCs the parade and stuff like that. And so because he's familiar with it, the parades, the
Okay.
parades.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, God.
And the car race.
Are any of you familiar with the Me TV station?
Me TV.
Talk
Yeah,
to us.
I know my parents watch that quite a bit, and it's like totally geared towards like baby boomers and older generations. But
Well,
if we're
yeah.
trying to reach people that might not otherwise maybe hear about it, I mean,
The other radio.
that's
station,
like,
Missouri is a Christian radio station. I
Oh,
think it's
yeah.
out of Winston or something.
Yeah, there are other
that one-
stations that aren't part of this conglomerate, and I really appreciate that you did get us advertising and everything. But I really don't think that we should be sucked into this big funnel that has just got one intent and one pocket, one bank account.
Does Cortec monitor our Facebook page, or do you only do the Facebook page? Like, do they post anything?
What's a Cortec?
That's the company that is right.
IT.
Oh,
And they just do the,
It's a house.
it's just in that.
Yeah, we
I was
do all
just
this.
asking because.
oh,
Yeah, I used to work for-
one thing that occurred to me was, I don't know if this is legal or anything, but like as a board member, I mean, I'd be willing to volunteer some time to like appear at community events to spread information, like a farmer's market or whatever.
I'd do that too.
Yes, we could always put a pop-up. We have a board that has, it's a felt, board, so we can change the messaging. But it has the logos and everything to be able to put something together for an event. Yeah, and we could tailor it to whatever the event is. Last one we did was
I
Earth
mean,
Day.
if that's possible, I mean, I have time on the weekends when I can do stuff. I mean, I'd be willing.
Sign them up every weekend.
The company that we used to use used to create flyers and different things. They would keep track of what was going on in our area, and they would make flyers and post them on our Facebook for us, like a lot, because it takes somebody to sit and do that, and sometimes that's very time consuming. But they would post stuff for all of our events and just little boosts, out to the, on Facebook. Mhm.
The shotgun effect is what we called it in advertising and marketing.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's a company.
part of my world that I used to
Yeah, I
be in.
think Jen should oversee that whole thing.
She could head up.
Got time for any weekend?
Yes, she can hold the baby and do that at the same
But
time.
because
I
we
know.
didn't have somebody in-house that
Not
could
this
just sit and
Tuesday.
monitor
Oh.
our Facebook
You need to be
and,
an
you know, flyers and posts, they did that for us and they would just, they had access to our Facebook page and they would just post them for us and create new flyers.
Yeah, I would like to see us reduce that to zero. I know it's a dream, but that would be nice. And I have a question about requested a revision to grant number.
Oh, so that is the grant that we were talking about at the last board meeting. That is for, I believe it is one or two Class C buses.
Okay.
And
It was that line item in the budget, right, that we were talking about? Is that
yeah, I
right?
think there's 5 vans in this one, but when we did the RFQs, the prices have gone up so astronomically that if we got all of the vehicles at that price, it was way more than what the grant was gonna cover. So what we did is we asked to reduce the size of, I believe it was 3 of the vans. And that then would bring
Oh, yeah.
the quote in alignment, and it would also create a surplus in the vans that then they transferred to the buses. So we could still get the buses and the vans and have it all remain within the budget. And it was a change from like 10 passenger to 8 passenger, so it wasn't a huge deal. It's still gonna carry 2 mobility devices and 1 or 2 passengers at the same time. It has that capacity, or 8 regular ambulatory passengers. So yeah, we requested the modification so that we could still utilize the grant to the fullest extent possible, get all of the vehicles that we were requesting, just a different size.
Okay. It just didn't have a number and
Oh, I
so
forgot.
there wasn't any explanation for me.
Darn it, I forgot to go back and finish that. I must have got interrupted. Sorry.
Oh, I can't imagine. So we requested and received information regarding the above ground diesel gas and storage tanks.
Yes. So it's absolutely amazing.
That's what I want to hear.
So, basically all we'd have to do is the cement pad that's big enough, you know, for the vehicle. And of course, there's a specific kind of oil water drain that
Mhm.
has to
Yep.
capture.
Yep, we're gonna have overflow and spillage.
Yeah, to make sure that we're not contaminating our little stream. So, and then I'm assuming that we're gonna get that land.
Yes.
So we would put the pad down, and of course you'd have an enclosure that could be secured and locked. But the bulk fuel is at minimum 20 cents a gallon cheaper. But most of the time, it depends on what kind of a deal you get. They said,
Mhm.
don't get the deal where you get the first tank of fuel free, because it's not actually free. It's incorporated in the cost of all the rest of the
course
times
it
that you
is.
fill the tank. But what that allows us to do, and I think it was a 30,000 gallon tank. And it allows us to fill it with the R99 diesel, which burns as clean. It's at least the same footprint. I was gonna say biological, that's the not right, same carbon footprint as electric and propane gas, natural gas, which is 0.08. Yeah,
Okay.
0.08, something like that.
Yeah.
Less than 1. Yeah, so that gives the immediate reduction that the grant that we're gonna apply for, the carbon reduction grant, is looking for as a qualifying factor. So we could potentially get the fuel, and the R99 fuel, a gas tank, and a 500-gallon DEF tank, because you still have to have the DEF to run the diesels. And we could potentially get the first bill included in the grant too. I don't know if we can or not, but I'm gonna try. So we could get all set up. We'd have fuel in the event of an emergency. It has a backup generator that's built into it that can either be connected to solar or connected to the diesel tank itself. And the fleet management piece of it, there's like a box welded at the end of the tank at where the hose winds up, and where there's a card key. So the card is for the vehicle and a key fob for the employee. So you don't run into employees putting in the wrong number. And then we're trying to track down, why did this AM driver that drives a bus put gas in a vehicle at 9 o'clock at night? You know, and those are the kinds of little anomalies that we chase down every now and then, like what just happened? And that's how we match our fuel bill up to, what's been used. So anyway, it has all of those features that it tracks it like that. It would tell us, would punch of a button or maybe two, who knows? How much fuel that we're using, all of the information that we currently get from the card lock at a lesser price with a door that you can close and lock at the end of shift. And so, not only is your area secure with a fence, but then you can padlock the dispenser so that it is also secure. And they'd have to be able to get through the padlock and have a key fob. So, the chances of theft are virtually eliminated. Plus it flows faster. So where it takes 15 minutes to fuel a diesel vehicle, if you're down to like less than half tank, then you could pretty much cut that fueling time in half because it flows faster out of the bulk dispenser. Yeah,
Awesome.
it sounded really, really good. And that's a turnkey setup where they bring the tank and a boom truck, and they lift it off the truck and onto the pad and bolt it down and fill it with fuel. And when they drive away, you are ready to roll.
You have to have a containment system.
That is the containment system, I think.
Yeah, it's
double
it's the
tank problem.
contamination issue that's a problem. And are we thinking it's gonna be down low or up high on this hill?
That will depend on
What we
what
get.
the design folks come up with. Yeah.
Dare I ask, dealt with a number of HR issues?
Yeah.
You're allowed to pass? I'm pretty sure I can. Since I'm
He wants
asking.
you to refer you to the other one, talks about building the walls for the new specialist. That went in pretty quick.
Well, I understood the walls for the HR specialist. I understood that,
Yeah.
but this one,
So until we have somebody that is HR, there is a team of us, 3 of us, that are sharing the responsibilities for HR. So Sherry does like any of the financial requests and a lot of the, like filling in the wages for safe and stuff like that. But she also has some HR experience that I can bounce things off of.
oh my
And-
God, she's even more sacred.
Yeah.
How about that?
So, it's somebody that I can have a discussion with, and Christine is the same, only she has a different set of skills with the benefits. So she can tell you every single kind of benefit we have. And I mean, it rolls off like a spiel, so she is able to do a lot of taking things off my plate that way.
So we've had a lot of hiring, firing, change, family, leave.
What it is in order to. Special districts requires for our insurance that we go through a specific process in order to let somebody go. So,
A disciplinary process.
yeah, and so regardless of whether your intent is to let somebody go or not, you have to document, and I feel like that is my never ending story. Have I got the documentation yet? Have you done the documentation yet? When am I gonna get the documentation? I need that documentation. Haven't seen that documentation. We're back to you. It's been a week. I still haven't heard from you. Where are we on this? And it's just a lot of follow-up, and I understand. I get that there's a lot going on.
But you're doing progressive discipline, so, yeah.
Yeah, well, some things, when you have your first incident with somebody, you don't anticipate that it's gonna land you. Yeah, but if you don't nip it in the bud, so we're gonna use Christine for an example. And Christine is being just rude to people, right? And I have a chat with her and I tell her, it's not appropriate for you to be rude to people, but I don't document that. Right? And then she does it again, and I don't document that either. And I have that conversation and tell her, if you want to keep your job, you can't be rude to people, and I'm very much simplifying it.
Oh, yeah, it's happened right outside the bathroom.
I was a witness, I saw it.
What's required is that you document not just what they did that's inappropriate, but the conversation that you had with them, and then what the consequences are that you very clearly lined out are in the event that you do this again. The consequences are you will be under further disciplinary action up to and including termination. Until we have done that, a minimum of one time, then we can't let somebody go and not have the possibility of some kind of a lawsuit.
Well, it seems like 3 of you can do the job better than this guy behind the wall.
Well, we haven't got anybody behind the wall yet.
I'm just thinking, do we need somebody behind the wall? Because we got 3 of us.
It just chips away at your day.
It does,
Yes.
so there is a lot of it.
Yes.
I would rather, because I grew up, my parents had their own business, okay? And they didn't have an HR person, so they, it was fell on the 2 of them pretty much, and their foreman or whatever. And it just took a lot of time. It takes,
does.
even with just a
Sucks
few
all your
employees,
time.
it takes so much
It is.
time. So you really do, I'd rather have you guys doing your jobs
Exactly.
and have a designated person to handle all that.
Yeah.
And somebody who's trained specifically to do that. Because
Yeah.
it
Well,
can
if that's a
very
motion,
much-
I will second
It
it.
can go very much.
No, I'm working on it.
smoothly.
Yes.
Everything is done correctly and smoothly, and you don't have to keep doing all of that back and forth stuff.
The HR is such a time sucker that this list could be 3 pages long if I was not dealing with HR issues.
So how are we coming on the HR person?
Well, we just got the walls built last week. And Christine's gonna have the people come out to drop the data cables so that they can have a computer and a phone.
But we have a person hired?
No, not yet.
Okay, well,
We have to have a place to put them first.
oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know we couldn't, tandem this thing.
They gotta have it.
Yeah, because it's privileged information.
Where are we hiring? Advertising.
I haven't advertised yet.
You haven't
I got the space ready.
So,
And it's not always discipline either. It's other stuff.
Oh,
too,
absolutely.
Questions they have, things like that.
Mhm.
So,
Well, even just
Belief is another one. that-
yeah, so it has to be private.
family.
I get that part,
Yeah.
totally. I just,
So building walls is pretty easy. The other part of my job, construction,
It's like,
Yeah.
they'll do all of that.
pretty cheap and inexpensive.
That falls on you right now.
So there's just a lot that, if my time is freed up, we can move forward on a lot of other things, And I did not see that nearly so clear a year ago as I do now. That is, Yeah, it'll be good. Any other questions on the
I've
report?
got 2 of the vans wrapped. I want to see pictures.
Do
Do we have pictures?
any-
Is it on our webpage? Facebook?
Oh, no, I saw one. In fact,
You did? You saw
I
one
was
in
I was
the
getting ready
wild?
to turn on the Stewart Parkway
In a while.
off of Garden Valley, and 2 different days, the same van went by me at the same time.
The one with the greenscape or the one with the
The
wineries?
vineyards.
I think it was Greenscape, you know.
Yeah,
It's just like, it was exactly the same one. I know it was the guy, had to be the same.
yeah, so
Yeah,
we're
same
gonna
one.
do a different picture on every one so that.
Right.
So that we
Yeah.
know which bus belongs in our neighborhood.
So they're all pretty. Yeah, so we were pretty excited to do that.
This
That's
was
right on
art
the
that somebody
agenda.
did locally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, local photographer. So this one was sun shower images. But I put out just a request for local photographers to submit photography ideas for the bus wrap, for the big ones. And I don't know that I found anything that's gonna be super on the big bus, but I did find a lot of them to do on the little ones. So it's nice. And you know, for $100, you know, they're super excited that somebody's gonna pay $100 for their file. And you know, it's good artwork.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't really care much about the low cost battery operated digital real-time displays. But I do wonder, when is Randy gonna come and see us again? We haven't seen him in 6 months.
Well, so typically at the board meeting, most boards don't even have their finance person here.
Well, we're really lucky to have an angel like we have.
I was talking to her the other day that I need the like what Jim was requesting, the full general ledger because I need to be able to answer the questions. Like my question was, what is the $1,700 in miscellaneous? Miscellaneous is a thing that we don't often utilize. You know, you put something in miscellaneous and you're almost guaranteed to get a question on an audit. You find the spot for it. So very few things go in miscellaneous. So that was my question.
Laundry. goes in. So Randy will never come and talk to us again.
I'm
Well,
sure
if there's a
that,
need, I guess. but-
yeah, I'm sure that that's. That must be Sarah.
That's Tom.
Oh, Tom.
Tom. Don't blame me, Carol. It was not me.
He was all lit up. So that's, I think, all the questions that I had.
All right.
And now are we gonna have an executive meeting tonight?
Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
Is that next?
Well,
No, is Jennifer here?
Jennifer's not available. Apparently she didn't log in.
Okay, so then I will move on to item 13, not on agenda. Anybody have any NOAs?
No.
Okay, moving on to public comment.
See what happens when you show up?
once a year, he shows.
Nothing here, Sarah.
Okay, we will move on to agenda build.
There's that.
Is there anything anybody wants to see on the agenda next month?
Election results.
Yeah, we do probably have to canvass. Is what it's called. So we will have that. So, yeah. And good luck everyone that's on the ballot.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Anybody want to take home a sign this week? I have signs.
Okay, anything else?
I'm just gonna put duct tape across the bottom.
I don't know of anything.
Yeah, that's okay.
I think we can take the month off.
Yeah, and the canvas, the vote thing can happen at the next meeting when if there's one next month. This doesn't have-
I mean, do we have anything that's on, we did the budget thing and we're doing the election thing and then we're done for another year.
Yeah.
So we could take vacation.
Now is the time.
Well, how about, it seems as if things come up throughout the month that we
Mhm.
had.
Mhm.
And there might be some significant updates to some of these projects
Okay, so
that
you'll send us an email and then we'll,
I
Or
could
or it'll
do.
be executive session.
yeah, it could be executive session, absolutely.
First decision.
Yeah,
Okay. We'll go ahead and close the regular meeting and open the executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602E to conduct deliberations with persons you have designated to negotiate real property transactions.
bye, Matt.
Um,